As the world opens up, organizations are increasingly beginning to find that things are not going to be the same as before. They have been realizing that the crisis over the past few months has added more complexity and uncertainty to their overall working across all spheres, and it is quite clear that the strategies and plans need to be adapted to the new normal. As we seek to find answers and solutions in our work without losing momentum of our CSR initiatives, let's listen to our CSR leaders and get practical wisdom from them. This conversation is brought to you by the National CSR Network as part of our Heal with Hope at NCSRN project, whereby we bring to you inspiring stories of how to look beyond the difficult and unprecedented times we face today and do even more meaningful work that benefits our communities at large. The National CSR Network is an initiative of the Strategic CSR Alliance, comprising of industry professionals to assist companies in India to drive their CSR agenda with measurable impact and facilitate implementation of social and environmental development projects. Today, I have great pleasure in presenting Ms. Soraya Rebello, Vice President CSR and Corporate Communications, Jakson Group. A master's in human resource management, Soraya has extensive experience in the hospitality sector and has worked in diverse roles in reputed brands such as the Intercontinental Goa, Taj Group, and the Leela, and currently with the Jakson Group since 2014. Soraya also co-chairs the CII CSR and Affirmative Action Committee for the Northern India Council and has been a managing partner in a consulting firm named HR Futures with its forte in talent management and outsourcing. Soraya has received accolades by the Times Group Times Network National Award for the Most Admired Hospitality Professional of the Year in 2018. Soraya is listed as one of the 100 most impactful CSR leaders 2019 in a global listing and shortlisted amongst the top 20 women leaders in corporate India 2019 for her work in diversity. Soraya's work in CSR and environment friendly practices has been featured in media such as Times Business, Hotel Business Review, Daman, and Sankalp News. As part of her personal contribution towards the community, Soraya has authored an educative book called Skills for Life in 2019 for free distribution to Jakson supported government primary schools and is currently authoring a self help book named Paving the Highway to Success from Home, due for release this October. Soraya also works closely with Sri Maya Devi, physically and mentally challenged Children's Welfare Society in Rohini, Delhi. Soraya, we are very pleased that you have joined us today. Could you tell me a little bit more about Jackson's future focus areas in sustainable development?
Hi, Madan. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today, and thank you to the National CSR Network for having me over. I hope I can share my experiences with you, and I hope that is going to help communities, NGOs, as well as companies. So I'm really hoping I can be or add value to this session for today. So, having said that, Jakson is a company that was incorporated in 1947, and we've grown from a genset manufacturing company into four verticals now, which includes distributed energy, solar, there's EPC solutions, as well as defense solutions. And I'm very, very proud to be a Jacksonite. Because I think ever since I have been with this company, I've seen the company actively participating in community initiatives, and employee engagement programs are really strong. We have a great volunteering program, and I think that puts us at the top of things today. Having said that, we operate in four regions of the country, which is basically Uttar Pradesh. That is where we are headquartered in Greater Noida. And we also operate in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Jammu, and partly West Bengal. We have three major CSR pillars, or what we call sustainable development goals, which focus around the first one is quality education. The second one is basically community upliftment. And the other one that we work on is environment sustainability. I'll share very briefly with you what we do under each of these three pillars. So, under the pillar of quality education, we work both with the organized as well as the unorganized sector of education. Now, when we talk about organized sector, it's mainly with government schools and private institutions that are looking at enhancing their educational system. So we support them in terms of infrastructure, and we make certain that we can turn these into sustainable ventures. Also, we work in rural India, where it is a little difficult in terms of connectivity, or even in terms of transportation, in terms of availability of the right facility. So infrastructure is a challenge. And when I mean sustainable schools, we're trying to make them, sustainable in a manner so that such that every infrastructure development project that we undertake, it does not lack the comfort that is required for a child when the child is in classroom. So apart from building additional classrooms and creating safe drinking water, having washrooms for boys and girls, what we do is we make sure that we also have sufficient water storage facilities or a water supply facility for these schools, because there is no point in creating these facilities if you don't have the basic need, which is water. So we've gone in for systems such as rainwater harvesting systems, or we've created underground storage, water storage facilities, so that these schools don't have water issues, say, for 7 to 8 months in a year. Apart from that, since electricity is a challenge and it keeps fluctuating every now and then, and we are a solar company, of course, so we've used our strength to solar power these schools so that the kids have a computer lab without any interruptions, or even the basic lighting or the fans, which is when ventilation is available to them during class hours, so they are not in an uncomfortable scenario while attending classroom sessions. Apart from that, through our volunteers, we focus on two important aspects, one of which is basically the computer skill program, whereby we give them technical training after school hours, and also the life skills program, which includes everything right from reach, meet, seat to hygiene, sanitation, first aid, garbage disposal. It has about 14 topics, which are basically general awareness. We feel that kids should, have education on these subjects. So that's something that we really focus on through our additional or remedial coaching classes that we call. So we are working in about 15 government schools as of now. That's as far as the organized sector is concerned, and about 4 private schools. And apart from that, we run our very own early learning centers. They are called the Jakson Early Learning Centers, which have a presence in the states of Maharashtra, Gujarat, and in Uttar Pradesh. That's in Noida, actually. And over there, it is basically like a kidsy. It is at the level of a kidsy. That is what the way I would rank it. Here, we are not only providing an education to these kids, an early education, but we're also looking after the nutritional requirements for these children. So it's an overall development of the child. And our objective is to enable these children become efficient enough to get admissions in private schools. It is every parent's dream to have their child study in a private school. And because these children, or I would say girls, because this program is run only for girls, and because it is expensive for parents to take admissions in private schools, these children never go to private schools, and they are forced to continue with government education or government schools, which is not bad, but who wouldn't want something better for their children? So I am really happy to say, I'm very, very proud to say that the quality of teachers that we have who conduct these educational programs, it has been spectacular, and they have been able to get children into private schools at a zero cost to the parents. So this is indeed a wonderful achievement, and this is something that we are continuously working on going forward as well. The unorganized sector, however, has been very challenging, because here we are talking about, India, which probably not too many people have seen. It's literally the back of beyond kind of scene. And over here, there are no schools. There are no schools in these areas. or even if they are schools, they probably have 1 or 2 classrooms. And many children work in fields and farms, so their parents don't send them to school. Now, how to get access to education for these kind of children is a big challenge. Secondly, there's a lot of parental resistance as well, especially when it comes to girls, because they would have the girls either work in the farms or come home and light the chula and do the cooking. So women or girls are completely ignored in these places. I mean, boys as well, but I think it's mostly the girls. So what we do is we have our partner NGOs that help us set up schools or classrooms, I would call them, which are very close to the regular education system. And then we talk to, say, the sarpanch or certain ward members of that particular village, and they give us a space in the panchayat, or somebody is probably kind enough to give, the terrace of his house for conducting classes. So that's how we are able to educate these kids with at least the basics that they require to possess. So this is basically the kind of education that we work in the unorganized sector. And we started with about 1,500 kids 3 years ago. And today we have about 5,000 kids that we are educating in the unorganized sector, which is a big challenge, because accountability, attendance, all these also tend to become a big issue. But yes, it is our endeavor to continue to work in this area so that every child in India gets the benefit to education.
I think that's very inspiring because I think one of the most important things from a point of view of educating kids is probably where you can make the most impact when it comes to the the work that you do in CSR. So I was quite impressed to see some of the things you spoke about in terms of employee volunteering, and also the fact that you've been able to use some of the the water harvesting and solar like opportunities to really be able to push that in schools. So could you tell me a little bit more about how do you really go about creating that particular ecosystem? How do you really get the employees energized to be able to do work in CSR, and a little bit more into how do you really balance the performance of the organization and profits of the organization versus the CSR initiatives that you're running?
Okay. So I think one of our most important core values is care, CARE, which I don't think I need to explain what that means.
Yeah.
So that is embedded during the induction. I'll put it that way. So care is a value that we are very, very focused on. And obviously, it is imbibed in the culture. Um, so apart from that, we run a volunteering program wherein we have a whole structure as far as volunteering is concerned. So we have 10 star volunteers that we develop within the company. I won't say within the company, but I think every region that we work in CSR, the 4 states that I spoke about, we have 10 star volunteers. And then we have project managers and team leaders. So we have a very neat and a professional structure in place. So the project manager works with the CSR teams, because we don't have a CSR team in every place that we operate. We do have it in certain areas. Mainly our teams are focused at head office, but these project managers work with the CSR teams, and then they start implementing every project with the help of the team leader there and the 10 star volunteers. And then there's a whole process and a system whereby once you pick up a project, you're supposed to, the CSR team will handhold them right from the inception right up to the implementation. Of course, having said that, it is very important to create a hype to get people energized to volunteer. But when people actually sense the outcomes, they get a feel of the outcome or the satisfaction of the stakeholders of that respective project. I think that is a turning point in everybody's life. That change makes them actually more and more committed to wanting to give more. So I think we've been able to do this through our volunteering programs because we have a structured approach to things. And even moving forward now, considering COVID, and we are using our volunteers for the digital volunteering programs or the virtual volunteering programs that we have initiated, as far as education is concerned, at least. And we have a lot of rewards and recognitions. None of them are monetary. Okay, None of them are monetary. And honestly speaking, we don't have a lot of companies I know have dedicated volunteering hours. So every employee in an organization, might get 12 hours of volunteering or not. So we have no boundaries. So you want to come and volunteer for 30 hours, 40 hours, 50 hours in a year, you're more than welcome. As long as you do your job, that apart, we are more than happy to have you as a volunteer with us. So that's the way it works.
I think it's really good to hear that. And also something that I just picked up from what you said about the volunteering part is really about creating the hype. But I think the more important thing is about how it really fulfills you. And in terms of being able to serve back to the community, etc. So you did mention a little bit about the COVID and the situation, and clearly the last few months that the world has seen has been very unprecedented. So just want to understand a little bit about how you continued with the momentum of your initiatives, like during this particular difficult period.
Right. So, Madan, we never actually conceptualized that, we could have CSR on a virtual platform. I'll put it that way. For us, it meant more of groundwork. It meant reaching those communities. There was that personal touch. I've carried babies in my arms, and that's a wonderful feeling, when you're able to actually reach out and do something for the community, and they know that you're there to help them out. So I would say, unfortunately, that part has reduced because there isn't too much of physical or personal connect, whichever is the right word, we might want to use, or social connect these days. But as far as education is concerned, we've been able to achieve quite a lot. The early learning centers are still functional on a virtual mode, thanks to the internet connection and India, having a good internet network nowadays, and everybody's got an Android phone. So video calling through WhatsApp or WhatsApp messages, we try to conduct classroom sessions through our teachers and our volunteers by using these mediums. So I think what we've really been able to achieve, which was very important during this period, is health and hygiene, sanitation. These are very important topics, and today people have actually become aware because they have no choice. They have to follow it, you know and we used to try to do this in schools before through one-on-one communication or face-to-face communication through videos. There were so many methods that we would teach them health and hygiene, but once they went back home, it was the same story because the parents were not educated. So you might teach them the best stuff in school. If they don't see it at home, they forget all about it. So once we started doing it through the virtual medium, I think because it was always the parents' phone that we would send anything on, so the parents had first access to it. The parents started reviewing it, taking a look at it, and I think the parents themselves have got educated, which is a huge achievement, at least as far as the children are concerned. So I think now the entire family is educated through these virtual education programs, which is progress for not only these people, but I think for the country overall, because there are a lot of organizations that are using this methodology to educate children. Um, Apart from that, we have also been involved in making masks for marginalized communities. So our volunteers within the company, some teachers who have been working with us in the past, so they are involved in making masks, and we generally distribute these masks to the authorities, who in turn distribute them to marginalized communities. Um, However, there has been a big U-turn in a few things, which is for the better. We are not a company that works in healthcare, but considering the current situation, I think it is very imperative to pump in money into healthcare, because even after COVID, it is going to benefit the population. So even if you set up, you put in extra beds, or you set up an ICU, or you provide ventilators, it's not only going to help people to get through COVID, but it's actually going to enhance all these district hospitals and community hospitals. It's going to enhance your medical facilities, which will help patients in the long run, even after post COVID, basically. So we have been pumping money into medical equipment. We have been pumping money into healthcare workers safety. So these are some of the initiatives that have actually changed for us during COVID.
Thank you so much. And it does look like opportunities and adversity, because I can see that you're moved away from just education to also health and hygiene. So it's a bit more holistic. So I think those are very good examples. So I'm sure that you would have some very inspiring stories over the last few months to really talk about. And I'm just wondering if there is any one or two stories that comes to your mind that you'd like to share with the viewers.
Sure. I mean, there are a lot of inspiring stories, and I when I talk about inspiring stories, I'm not going to talk about how we've impacted the masses, but I'm going to talk about stories that have been very close to the heart. Because at the end of the day, this function is all about passion. It's about care. It's about doing things for others. To make their lives better. So just to let you know, when I talk about community upliftment, we work also in the area of providing employment opportunities and livelihoods for people from marginalized sections and for people with disabilities, or as we call them, specially abled. So we run a program called LIFE, which is Learning, Innovation, and Forward Education, whereby we have a program that it's an earn while you learn program. So whereby we induct girls from economically backward backgrounds, and we make them financially stable, economically stable. We make them independent, basically. So some of these girls are orphans. Some of them come from really remote places. Most of them are below poverty line. Okay, most of them have only one parent. So they cannot afford an education. So we recruit these women, these girls, because they're really young. We recruit them at the age of 17, and we train them. The first kind of training that we would provide to them is basically personality enhancement and English communication. So these are the two important points that we focus on. And then eventually we induct them into the back of the house operations. And then when we know that they're confident enough, we give them an opportunity in the front line. So many of these girls, and it's a 3-year program, so many of these girls have actually turned out to be extremely successful in what they do. I mean, today when I go, we also have a hospitality division apart from the energy side of the business. Jakson also has a hospitality division. So whenever I go to the hotel, I see these girls have become chefs, and they've become really competent and confident chefs that they come out and they take orders from guests directly. So girls who didn't know how to communicate, who were shy, who did not know probably how to read or write, today have become so confident. Many of them have left us for better prospects, and I'm really happy they found better opportunities elsewhere. They've become managers in food stores like Domino's, to name a few. So it's a real proud feeling, and a very satisfying feeling to see them do well in life. So this is something I'd really like to talk about. Um, the other part is that when we've had a lot of people who are specially abled, and I think it's all about giving them an opportunity, because a lot of people look at them as a burden. But I think as a company, Jakson has been really welcoming people with disabilities, not only back of the house but also frontline. So you will see people at reception who are specially able, and what I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of training, inputs. There's counseling that happens when you have people with special abilities, and uh, I have one or two stories where these people have not only contributed to CSR in turn. So they have become volunteers. They have become part of the star volunteers basically for the company. They've involved their spouses as well. So now whenever we have on ground activities, it's not only they who come, but their spouses are also involved. Their children are also involved. So I think that is huge satisfaction for us as a company.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for those inspiring stories. Are there any final, like words of advice that you'd like to give, to some of our CSR team as the world and even India opens up, from the lockdown? So, is there any things that you'd like to suggest that the CSR teams should be doing in the next few months?
So I think what companies should not do is stop what they are doing. I know it's a tough time, and the balance sheets or the profit and loss accounts of companies don't look very good at this juncture. In fact, many companies have been in lockdown for almost the first quarter, which I'm sure has brought a huge negative on the P&L accounts. But having said that, CSR should not stop. there are many alternate avenues in which we can actually reach out to people. Money is not the only way that you can reach out to people. There are different ways in which you can reach out. So I think organizations need to explore that. I would also say that organizations should start looking at healthcare, especially during this tough scenario, because it is the need of this country. We have such a large population and we don't have the right medical facilities to support that population. So if we invest some money into healthcare right now, it is going to go a long way down. So I think companies should focus on healthcare and whatever else that they can do. But I know for sure that money is not everything. It is passion, it is love for what you do, and there can be different ways of achieving the same goal.
All right. Thank you so much, Soraya. It's great to have you here today with us. I'm sure that our viewers found a lot of benefit and value in not only hearing your inspiring stories, but the work that you have been doing in terms of CSR and how you have moved during the COVID situation beyond education to health and hygiene as well. So, thank you so much for joining us today. And dear viewers, thank you so much for listening to the conversation with Soraya. We do hope that you found it as inspiring and useful as I personally did. If you would like to share your feedback or suggestions, or if you'd like to know more about the National CSR Network, please do visit our website. In the meantime, please continue to do the good work that you're doing. Best wishes and thank you.